there is definitely a time that you do not need to tell a kid that they made a mistake because they're not hearing it, right? All they're hearing is like, they're not good enough. So timing of that conversation was, I mean, dude, I couldn't overstate the importance of being able to know when to talk to a kid, and not just my kid, but any coach to any athlete. There's a moment where you should take a second and pause and be like, is now the time to talk to them about this hard loss that they just took?
Welcome to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast, where I interview truly incredible fathers, gaining wisdom from their stories for you and I to grow in our own craft of fatherhood. I'm your guide, Ned Shout, father to 5 kiddos, currently ages 13 to 20, and husband to my rad wife, Sarah, working on our 21st year of marriage. So yeah, my friend, I'm in the thick of this with you, working daily to rebel against the low expectations for fathers and create a world where fathers know who they are as they show up for their families. My friend, you and I truly have an incredible opportunity to impact our world through the way we embrace our fatherhood role. The role of the father is to serve, guide, steward, protect, and of course, find joy and have fun in the messiness of it all. Today's guest is one of my favorite people on the planet, Seth Garten. We've been friends for a long time. He is an incredible husband, father, coach, leader, just living daily to serve the Lord and serve those that are put in his care without shame. This guy's my fitness coach. We meet weekly. And so when I say without shame, I mean, he just will tell you how it is with love. So enjoy meeting my friend, Seth. All right, I'd like to welcome Rabbi Seth Garten to the podcast. How are you, dude?
Well, good, man. Thanks for having me.
So in my phone, Seth's name is saved as the rabbi because he's my fitness coach. So he's the guy I turn to when I got questions about my fitness. So, dude, I'm super pumped to talk right now with you about fatherhood.
Yeah.
We did a podcast. So I'm at like episode 550 or something like that, around there. And you and I had a conversation a couple years ago, and it was episode 156. So it's been a minute.
It's been a while for sure. Yeah. Crazy.
And we did that podcast in the treehouse in Northern California, which was fun. And then a lot's changed for you and I. I live in Hawaii now, and you're in Idaho.
Yeah. Small little town way up north.
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to encourage listeners, if you want to hear more about Seth's story, go check out episode 156, where we talk about a lot of rad stuff. But today we're talking about something really special and unique, and wanted to dive into your daughter just won state championship for girls wrestling in Idaho.
Wild.
So, dude, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So like 2 weeks ago, like I was looking, I mean, you and I talk almost every week, but on your Instagram, you posted some, video and picture. She's a senior in high school, which is also really a big deal. Because it was like, this was the moment, right? Like the final opportunity. And so what I'd like to do, so the picture, the video, I mean, you can't really describe, I'm sure, the feeling, the joy, the work. So what I'd like to do is tell me about that moment from a father's perspective. And then after we kind of talk about the aha winning moment, then let's go back to like, when was it first stated, I want to be state champ? And then what does it take to be a father to your daughter in the in between? So tell me about the moment, dude. We're like a couple weeks fresh off of this.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's hard to describe. It's hard to describe a moment in real time or even post that carried so much weight. I don't know if I fully processed it yet, to be perfectly honest. It was so good and sad all at the same time. And the reason why I say sad is because the goal of being a state champion was accomplished. So that part of the journey essentially came to an end in that moment. but at the same time, like, the joy and gratitude, dude, I cannot explain that moment as a feeling. Having Shelby, to kinda step back, I'm also her wrestling coach or one of
Mhm.
her wrestling coaches.
Like, you are your daughter's wrestling coach, fitness
Yeah,
coach, nutrition coach. So
yeah,
it's not like you're, I don't wanna say this like just a dad in the stands, but you're also not just a dad in the stands. So this moment had a lot more buildup for you, I think.
yeah, a lifetime of buildup.
Mm.
Shelby started competing, uh, in grappling when she was, like, 10. Started wrestling when she was a freshman, so grappling as far as, like, jujitsu goes. Um,
Mhm.
but that moment, I'll focus on that before we go to the other part of the story. There was no word that can describe a feeling
Mm.
of your child accomplishing something of such magnitude. Um, a state champion is not something they hand out easily, like, at all. So, for her to essentially what I would call it, accomplish the mission that we put in play,
Mhm.
um, dude, I there's no words. Like, seriously, like, there is no words, and that's not me trying to avoid answering the conversation. I don't know how to put that feeling that I had in that moment when she ran up to me and jumped into my arms and, like,
Mhm.
wrapped her she was bawling, right?
Yeah.
Bawling.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe that, dude. It's just
So just to paint this, like, you guys moved to Idaho, what, a couple years ago? So she made
for
it to the championship junior year and senior year. Is that correct?
final match, junior and
Final.
senior.
So junior year, she's in the final match
Yeah.
and another girl takes the win.
Yeah, she lost. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was so she got second place is what you're
Yeah,
telling me.
so, she started wrestling her freshman year. She qualified to go to state by placing 3rd in her district, and ended up winning a
In
match
freshman year.
freshman year, yeah. Her
Okay.
record her freshman year was 11-9, so she sucked, essentially, like, there's no way to put it. Um, but she made it to the state tournament and ended up winning a match at the state tournament,
Okay.
which is huge. Like, I don't like, to paint a picture around that, in girls wrestling right now, there's only like when you're a champion or you make it to state, you're one of the 16 best wrestlers out of all of the wrestlers in all of the state. It's different
Mm,
for boys and girls. Boys have like state champion for a 6A school based off like size of school. So
got it.
there could be 5 state champions at 130 pounds for boys based on the size of the school that they go to. It's not
Mm,
that way for girls. It's
mm.
overall state champion or placer. So for her to go to state and win a match was huge. And literally on the drive home, she's like, "Dad, I want to be a state champion." Um,
What about that freshman year, like, 11-9, she wins a match. What about that moment w either gave her the belief or the idea that she wanted to or could be?
um, the fact that she won a match at state her freshman
Felt
year.
good. It felt
Yeah,
good to
felt
win.
great,
Yeah.
and then the belief that that kid has always had in herself, I don't think every kid is given that, and that's no dig on other children.
Mhm.
Um, she's always had this, like, ability to, um, accomplish the things she puts her mind to. So when she was like, "Dad, I wanna be a state champion," like, my initial reaction in that moment was like I literally said this, "Baby girl, it's time to get to work." And, we went to work. Like, she had an amazing, coaching staff. I wasn't her coach at this time. I was just dad who strength and condition, nutrition, all these things, right? Not wrestling coach. Her assistant wrestling coach, so the assistant to the head coach. Literally, like, we brought this to them, and he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to do more than just wrestle 3 months out of the year,"
Mhm.
meaning this is a year-round thing, right? So being the dad that I am, I went to work on my end of finding this kid every camp, every like we just did it, right? Like we're gonna wrestle this, we're gonna train this with this coach, we're gonna find as much opportunity for her to wrestle as we can. One of our family friends, his name's Paul. He worked with her on the off season between freshman and sophomore year on just fundamental wrestling, like shooting a double leg takedown, shooting a single leg takedown, having knowing like the different positions to start and things like that. Like she didn't know wrestling at that point, right? Um, Super good dude, gave her the base of what I would say was her foundation of understanding wrestling. Sophomore year, she was 26 and 11 and went to state
Wow.
that year. Yeah, so she improved a lot there, right? Um, Ended up taking second place at districts that year. Went to the state tournament and went and won 2 matches. She lost in what's called the blood round. The blood round is the match that if you win, you're placing at state, and if you lose, you're going home. Um, for
How was
whatever
that?
reason. That was emotional, man. The first 2 years for Shelby was such a hard learning curve, as far as learning wrestling, getting into these tournaments. Like, they're not easy when there's 10,000 people there, there's 2,000 wrestlers, and, you're in this huge arena. I mean, it's overwhelming to kids
Yeah.
who have never been put in that situation.
What what would you say after that? It's like, okay, I made it to the blood round. I'm at states. In my mind, this is like the movie ending that I win, and I
Yeah,
don't. And I'm a sophomore, so like I'm 15, I got a whole bunch of other stuff that's important to me. What kept her in the game for another year? Like, where was the hope that, okay, maybe next year?
she made a decision she wanted to be a state champion. Um that was made the freshman year. We
And she
knew
was
that.
still hanging on to that. She was
Oh, dude,
okay.
it
I mean,
never
she
stopped.
wasn't okay with the loss, but it wasn't defeating to her mental game.
I was up and down, to be perfectly honest with you. There
Yeah.
was moments where, she never said, "I'm gonna quit." Like, the word quit never entered her
Mhm.
mind, but, along this journey, there was just things that we had to work through as far as, like, mental fortitude, building her mind to accept that losing is part of the process, and it doesn't define us as athletes or
Mhm.
humans. It just helps us learn what we need to focus on, right? Those are the things that, I mean, Cece, my wife, myself, we worked with her on the mental side of it, like, daily almost. There's dude, in a high school kid's life, there's so many distractions, right? There's
Mhm.
so many outside influences. There's people in general who will never believe or support you when you say you want to accomplish something of such high magnitude, because when you say these things, it makes them look internally and like they never did it, so they can't fathom somebody doing it, right? We had to we had to battle that stuff, and help her gain her belief in herself and build it to such a high level where, excuse me, mentally she was unbreakable. And that took the first 2 years to get there for sure.
So, go ahead and say I have a question, but say what you're
Yeah.
gonna say.
Um, a lot of that changed in the off-season wrestling that we did from sophomore year to junior year, with the amount of traveling that we started doing for bigger and better tournaments as far as competition goes. We looked
Mhm.
at it like, okay, you made it to the blood round. Amazing, great accomplishment. Does it suck that you didn't make it past the blood round? Yeah. Does that hurt? Yes. Let's funnel it as motivation, right? So we started doing off-season wrestling at like a nonstop level. We basically never turned off wrestling for that entire year, and we put her in as many big tournaments as we could find. So that it seemed like the issue was when we got into these big tournaments, she kind of just shut down and she didn't feel like she belonged there.
Hmm.
So we threw her in regional tournaments as far as like, outside of school wrestling. So we were trying to put her in against the best competition we could find. And in that off season, she started beating like girls who were winning state, girls who were
Mm.
taking second place, third place, fourth place at state. And all of a sudden, what you saw was this kid who went from feeling like she didn't belong to realizing, like, I don't just belong, but I am beating at will state champions from all these other states around us. And that was the biggest change for her as far as mental strength and fortitude to know that she belongs somewhere and that she was getting to that next level of wrestling.
How as a dad do you put the pressure on appropriately? And I'm sure there's times that you don't, but like sometimes you could really lean into something with your kid and discourage them from it.
Yeah,
Right. And maybe it's just knowing the kid because like I know like my daughter, she's a athlete. She's going to school for track. But if I were and we train in the gym and stuff, but if I put too much on her, then it'd be like it would be like my thing, but that's her personality.
sure.
So how did you kind of dance with that the last 4 years of knowing when to put the pressure on and then backing off when you needed to?
I learned most of that in the first year.
Mm,
Um, as she progressed in her wrestling knowledge, we call it a wrestling IQ. As she progressed in her wrestling IQ, the time between loss and conversation would shorten. So the
between the two of you talking?
Yeah, totally. So, like, in the beginning, she would
Mm,
have these total mental breakdowns, right? She would lose a match and, like, the whole like, the sky's on fire type of
mm,
response. So I would have to give her more time to, like, calm down, come back into where we could assess what happened in the match so we could essentially learn from it and move on, right?
mm.
Um,
Would she
as
come to
she
you or would you go to her?
In the beginning,
Yeah.
I would it would be me going to her for sure.
But you
But
would pay attention to the amount of space she needed
yeah,
to not get into like
totally.
a depressed state, but
Yeah.
you're not like walking her off the mat saying, okay, what'd you do wrong here?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, because there is definitely a time that you do not need to tell a kid that they made a mistake because they're not
Hmm.
hearing it, right? All they're hearing is like they're not good enough.
Mm.
When so timing of that conversation was, I mean, dude, I couldn't overstate the importance of being able to know when to talk to a kid, and not just my kid, but any coach to any athlete. There's a moment where you should take a second and pause and be like, is now the time to talk to them about this hard loss that they just took? And I would say, go ahead.
Well, I think this is really important for dudes to pay attention to because I think
Yeah.
we can see from an outside perspective the right thing, right? But
Yeah.
that's because we weren't in it, right? So we
Mm.
watched from the sidelines.
Yep.
And I think sometimes we just love to hear our own voice, right? Like
Yeah.
I just
Yeah. A
I'm
hundred
super
percent.
smart dad. Yeah, so let me tell
Yeah.
you,
I got all
um
the answers.
yeah, but it also doesn't give them time to process it. So I think that's a critical thing for dads, coaches, mentors to remember is that pause and that check in. And I almost think when you're like, what does this kid need right now? Whether you are a Christian or not, like for you and I, it's like, Holy Spirit, give us wisdom as I'm about to talk to this kid. I
Yeah.
think God's such a good God that even if you're not acknowledging it's Him giving you that wisdom, when you
Yeah.
do pause and ask yourself the question, God's giving you insight into this human that he's entrusted to you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, okay, go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
No, you're
good.
good. That's good. I think we should drive this nail all the way home, because as a coach and being in the wrestling community as much as I've been lately, I see this all the time, and to
Hmm,
be perfectly honest, it drives me up the wall. Like,
hmm,
you got a kid, no matter what age, right? It could be a 5-year-old, it could be a 10-year-old, it could be a girl in high school, a boy in high school. And the first thing when these kids are so emotional, like, wrestling is a combat sport. They're essentially fighting each other within a certain rule set,
right,
right? They're not
right.
punching and kicking, but they're fighting to either win by points or win by a pin. Um, the thing that drives me as a dad and a coach up the wall the most is when you see a kid that just lost a match. They're already like their adrenaline is dumping, so their emotions are high, and all of a sudden you got this parent or coach just trying to tell this kid everything that they just did wrong. And
Mm.
all the kid is hearing is like, I am not good enough. That's it. They're not hearing like, oh, I should probably have a better head snap setup before I take that shot, be in a little closer range so I don't flat face it to the mat and give up 3 points, right? Like that's just kind of like how takedowns go. Not to get into like wrestling terminology, but they're not hearing that at any
Mhm.
age. All they're hearing is my mom or my dad or my coach is telling me I just lost the match because I don't know what I'm doing and I'm not good enough. What I found is, and this is not something that I like knew right off the bat. I had to learn this the hard way. Um, give them enough time to let them work through the emotions. And then when they're done having their moment, ask them if they're ready to have a conversation.
Ooh, I like that. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You're like, you're asking them, "Are you ready?" versus me showing up saying, "All right, it's time to do this."
Yeah.
What if they say no?
Then give them more time.
Wow. How do you okay, then how do you cultivate that you're the one, and it's probably from this, but any other tips? How do you cultivate the relationship or the trust that they even wanna hear from you?
By giving them the time.
Hmm.
Because you're trusting them, right? You're what you're showing
Mm.
them is like, I trust you that when you're ready, you're going to come and talk to me so we can assess what happened in that match.
So, I mean, what I just wrote down is if you trust them, they will trust you.
100%. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's tough, dude.
Oh, dude, it is not easy. It's not.
To
It is.
to take to take a big step back though, just for a moment, because I think this is important for dads, is like you had already over the years cultivated a massively incredible communication relationship with your daughter.
For sure. Yeah.
Right, like, you guys already had a baseline for
Yep.
trust and communication. Any
Yep.
tips you would give dads if they're especially as a dad with a daughter,
Hmm.
um, that you would give to dads to help them cultivate, a trusting relationship with their daughter?
Drop anything and everything for them when the time is needed. It's that simple. There's
Mhm.
no other answer. They should be, and this should be for any kid. Um, nothing is more important. Period. Your job, like,
Yeah,
yeah, nothing, dude. Nothing. Show up for them.
yeah. It almost makes me cry, dude, like, showing up the ability to show up for our kids. That's why, dude, it's so freaking sad right now with our kids being at the age to start to move out.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh my god, bro, for
Yeah.
20 years, I dropped everything." Um,
Yeah, it's tough. And dude, it's not easy. I'm
yeah,
talking like everything, dude.
yeah. You've
Everything.
been if I could pause, like, because this thoughts jumped into my head a couple times and I haven't really known how to say it, but, like, you are a really good example of that.
Hmm.
Like, I think if we didn't say it, somebody could say by listening to what we've said so far,
Yeah.
somebody could say, "Oh, it must be nice to have, like, the endless finances to be able to do this for your kid. I can't."
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't have that.
and that's why I bring it up is
Yeah.
more for the encouragement is that you have sacrificed a ton of things that may really be important to a man, like, this super consistent career where I'm making 200 grand a year, like, consistently or building this, that, or the other, and, you've chosen to say no
Mhm.
to a lot of things
Mhm.
so that you could say, like, 100% yes to this. And I really think you're an incredible example of that.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. It's
and
hard,
and
dude.
that's yeah, it's hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
but dude, life is supposed to be hard. I don't know why the frick we run away from that so much.
Yeah. To that point, I guess, like, just so we can clarify, I don't come from like, my family does not have endless finances. We've had to say no to almost everything to help Shelby accomplish this goal. I
Mhm.
mean, we're talking, dude, I like Cece could vouch for this. We've never really been on a family vacation in the last, I don't know how many years, dude. Like all of our funds outside of living expensive expenses has gone into this mission.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just part of the sacrifice. When Shelby said that, I want to be a champion, it could not happen just on her will alone. It
Mhm.
had to be a family
Hmm.
agreement that we were all going to be on this journey with her. So that moment, whew, um, it was more than just her being a state champion. It was like everything our family did for 4.5 years straight to give her that opportunity was validated in that one moment.
Mhm.
Um, dude, I not to get into my relationship with my wife, but, like, that took a hard back seat to a lot of this mission that we were on,
Hmm.
because it needed in order for her to accomplish that in such a small window, we had to give it all of our free time. There
Hmm.
was no summer vacation. There was no spring break. There was no anything. It was all in or this was not going to happen. Um, so she didn't just become a state champion for herself, but she won that, like, for our family, which
Hmm.
is, like when you think about the amount of effort, resources, saying no, the time that was invested from dude, so many people,
Hmm.
coaches that believed in her, that saw what was happening, that were willing to coach her for free on their own time. We're talking high level coaches that were like, I want to be a part of that kid's journey. Um, like God worked in a way that I cannot explain. If I had to write a list of all the names of coaches and athletes and people who invested their time into Shelby, excuse me, my nose is running because I'm getting all emotional. Um, over the last 4 years, we could spend 3 hours going over that list. It's that
Yeah.
long, like that long.
Yeah, and as I hear you say she won for the family, I I mean, just knowing you and there wasn't this, like, pressure that she owed you guys anything at all.
That was never it.
So, question for you is, what if what would change or what would be different or how would you feel if she hadn't have won?
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great question.
like, what would be really different to all of this?
Nothing,
Anything?
nothing.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah.
And I'll explain that. So Shelby suffered a very bad injury from junior year to senior year. She was
Mhm.
wrestling her off-season wrestling. It's called freestyle. It's basically like a different style of wrestling. It's not through the school, right? Um, she completely tore the cartilage from her breastplate in the 1 and 2 rib at a tournament in Western Washington, and she was not able to compete for from April until wrestling of her senior year started. She was not able to compete in wrestling at all.
It's a big
Uh,
break.
huge break. So and she was struggling a lot because her identity was in
Hmm.
wrestling at that moment, right?
Hmm.
And so this is where God comes into all of this. Like, we've had to put blind trust and faith above everything because we just
Mm.
didn't know if she was gonna be the athlete she was her junior year when she went 46-2. I mean, she went from 26 and
Damn.
11 to 46-2 the next season, right? And so what I told her, I was like, she had this injury and she's like, "Dad, I'm scared I'm not gonna be the wrestler I was." And I said, "I think you need to get into your Bible and just read your
Hmm.
Bible." Yeah, so she did that. She did that, and her identity shifted from a wrestler to Shelby's identity as Christ sees her. So she refound what really mattered most, right? and that is, who am I in Christ? Because God doesn't care if you win or lose. He cares about who you are, your character, the way you treat people around you, all the other things. Like, the wins and losses don't matter. And so through that process, she was able to let go of the wins and losses, and they no
Mm,
longer affected who she believed she was. So
mm,
when the injury healed and she got to get back to training, she no longer cared. Like, she still had the goal. Don't get me wrong here. The goal was to
right.
still be a state champion, but that
Hmm.
wasn't the end of the road for her anymore. So it
Right.
was
It
it
wasn't
was
the defining moment for her life.
totally, totally. So, healed up, got back to training, got back to wrestling, senior year started, and everything was different about this kid. I mean, she came back and she was firing on all cylinders, right? Like
Mm,
nothing, like the athlete was still there. So there was a lot of fear going into the beginning of that season. But again, her identity had been rooted in Christ in that season of not being able to wrestle. She found herself again. She found who she was. She found that she is a child of God who wrestles, not a wrestler who is a child of God. There is a big
mm,
difference. And I think that's important to know that, like, we always have to seek God and his kingdom first above everything. And then all the other stuff comes, is added unto us. I mean, that's literally scripture. So got back to wrestling, fired on all cylinders. Didn't suffer any injuries other than a couple of headbutts through the senior year, but that was um that was the biggest shift, was her being able to let go of the, if it didn't happen, I'm no
mm,
longer who I thought I was. Well,
mhm.
that was now just a stepping stone in the trajectory of Shelby's future with grappling. And it's like, yeah, if I take second place at state, third place at state, whatever, I'm going to still go out there. I'm going to wrestle as best I can because I love wrestling. And I just want to be the best that I can be every single time I step on the mat, win or loss, period.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where that went.
Well, this is a moment, so just now what you just said is like a moment that could make me come to tears, and here's the thing, you and I know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say in general, you believe what you believe, there ain't shifting you much, and you probably are the guy, you could tell me if you agree or not, like, you have your opinions, and you're probably not gonna be swayed from them too easily.
I'm that guy for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
You're
what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, the right kind of training, all other training is whack. Like, and I paint this picture not of a not of a stubborn goat, but but of a guy who is very confident, very sure. You could see the path, and you're willing to do the work to get there. And the
Yeah.
reason why I paint such a picture like that is, oof, you you came to a point with your daughter where she's hurting, and it wasn't that you needed to give her space for you, Seth, her dad, to give her the answer. And you just said this super just like off the cuff as you and I are talking. Um, she's in this wrestling with her identity, and you didn't have the answer for her. You said, "Go read your Bible."
Mhm.
And I think us dads really need to pay attention to this. There is going to come a point, and it's really when your kids are in this high school. Dude, I'm feeling this tension with my son right now. It's really freaking hard.
Yeah.
Is at a certain point, our kids, A, we don't have the answer for them, and B, they're no longer answering to you and I
Yeah.
for their decisions or who they are. Like, we have a great opportunity to give them a baseline, but you pointed your kid to the word, and you're like, all right. And then you are almost trusting God, like, yo, dude, I've done what I can. It's not like this is your problem, but I'm trusting you enough for you to do something here.
Well, yeah, because he has all the answers.
Yeah, I guess even that, like, you have a confidence in that. Like, that's tough, bro.
I think I know my limits.
Hmm.
well enough to know when I don't have the answer, and I'm not gonna tell somebody I have the
Hmm.
answer if I don't have the answer. I'd rather just tell you the truth and be like, "Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, man. You're gonna have to figure this one out on your own." And that's essentially what I told her, but obviously from a loving standpoint. I'm not like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Yeah.
hey, you're on
Yeah.
your own, like, see you later."
Yeah.
It was like, I know from experience that I've always found the answer in the Bible,
Mm.
always. So why not point her to the same thing that has helped me so much find out who I am and
Mhm.
believe the things that I believe, which are, I would say, pretty biblically rooted. I'm not like
Mhm.
a seminary school graduate or a pastor by any means, but I read my
Your name
Bible
is
almost.
Rabbi in my phone, so
That's good, dude. Um, but I believe in the Bible to a
Mhm.
point of like that is the first place I would send any friend or family member. So
Mm.
when she did feel like I didn't, dude, I don't know, like she's 16 at this time, right? And
Mm.
and she's a girl, and not to mention like, why wouldn't you want to tell your kid to go read the Bible at
Mhm.
that point when they're struggling to figure out who they are? Um,
Hmm.
that's the first place that I would want to send them, because the problem that happens is when it's not rooted in the Bible, is I could be like, yeah, go talk to your mom or go talk to your brother or go talk to your friends. And they're going to feed her with opinions of their
Mm.
own experiences, which isn't inherently bad. But I also would say root yourself in the word and you'll be just fine.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, this is really important. And I want to say, so dads listening, if you didn't have a dad who coached you in this way, right? Maybe when you hear read the Bible, you're hearing go do this thing for God's approval, like do this checklist thing. So if you right now are struggling with your own identity, because whatever, you're 20 years into marriage, you sell insurance, you're like not sight, you know what I mean? Whatever the things are,
Yeah.
take Seth's advice or wisdom, I should say, and go turn to the word, not to check it off the list, not to be a good little boy and do something so that God will bless you. Go learn who God says you are in the
Yeah.
word right now. Go find your identity in there. And then you will be able to teach your kids that when they're 10, 15, 20, right? And that's the beauty is Shelby learned this at like an age where she's relatively safe in home, right?
Mhm.
Like she's got a loving dad. But some of us men didn't get that. So I just
Absolutely.
encourage you dudes, if you feel like you didn't get that, go start reading the Bible with an open mind that God will show you who you are. And then when your kid, then you will be the true example for your kids when
Yeah.
they have these identity issues, which there's always going to be these
Dude.
things.
Still.
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 Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a
Yes.
lifelong process, right?
It is for sure. And dude, the Bible's so freaking cool,
Oh, it's
bro. Like,
powerful. So powerful.
and there's
Especially
so much new stuff all the time that you're like, oh my gosh, I
I
never seen this.
I am a creature of habit, if you
Mm,
haven't figured it out by now. I really love reading the New Testament. I read it
mm,
front to back, like almost nonstop, probably. I read that more than any other part of the Bible. I'll go back and dabble with the Old Testament. I
mhm,
won't, it's harder for me to read some of that stuff because of I don't want to call it like I don't know how to describe it. It's just not I don't have the same feeling from the Old Testament stuff that I read as opposed to when I'm reading like the book of Matthew or the book of
mhm,
James or Hebrews or Luke, like any of the New Testament stuff, right? Mark, Luke, the Gospels, whatever. Um, I just feel like it's speaking to me, and like
mm,
obviously there's a place to understand the Old Testament and like the genealogies and all the different things that are in there. But I spend most of my time in the New Testament. And out of the countless times I've read it, just to your point, there's always new stuff there. It's
mhm.
like, oh, I didn't even like that, didn't even process, right? And that's the beauty of the Bible is you can get something out of it no matter how long you've been reading it. It
Yeah.
can help. It can
Yeah.
help. And it does help. Um, and it helped Shelby in more ways than I could ever thank God for sure.
Mhm. Mm. Well, I love the words you used, right? You said, "Go root yourself in this." And I think that that's the thing, like, we're not maybe being told is like, "Hey, you should read this," but it's like, "Yo, you are alive in your roots, for your life, your tr because we wanna be out in the world producing fruit, we
Yeah.
have to be rooted in the right stuff, and it can't like, to your point, it just can't be other people's opinions or even our own opinions. So having some sort of foundational anchor is critical, and I just think it's important for dads to realize that there will be a point, multiple points probably, where you don't have the answer with your kid. Maybe you can, as a peer, be like, "Sheesh, I've been there." And the thing that got me through it was turning to God.
Yeah.
And that's hard to it's vulnerable, right?
Oh,
But
dude. Yeah, it
but it's
is.
real and raw.
And in the long run, it will never be wasted time as
Hmm.
far as like finding yourself in Christ and then being able to run with that and not care, or not, maybe not care, but free from the influence of other people's opinions. When you know who you are in Christ, it doesn't matter. It's it. That's who I am.
Mhm.
And for Shelby, it was like freeing for her. She used to put so much weight on the wins and losses. Because her identity was, I'm a wrestler, not I'm Shelby, who is a child of God. Even though
Mhm.
she, don't get me wrong, what I'm saying, she was still a child, like she was still, like it's not like she was not a follower of Christ before that, but she had got so wrapped up in the identity of a wrestler, um, that we look back now and that injury was the best thing that ever happened to her.
Hmm.
Because it taught her a lot of things. Like, as an athlete, you will get injured,
Right.
and if you want to be the best at something, you have to find the belief in yourself that it's part of the process and I'm going to work through it. Injuries are outside of her control. She didn't want to go rip her breastplate cartilage apart. It just happened. So when it happened, she was able to she was able to work through that. She was able to put all of her identity back in Christ, and then on top of all of that, she had this belief, like, it was going to happen, dude. Like, she
Hmm.
knew that it was going to happen her senior year. Nothing was going to waver her from that belief in herself because she knew that the gifts, like, Shelby is a talented, gifted athlete. You can be the hardest worker in the room and you can talk about all the cliches that it comes to coach, when coaches and athletes, they have these things like outwork the rest of them and this, that, and the other, like to be the bit like blah, 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 blah. She believed in herself on a spiritual, faithful level so much that she just knew it was going to happen. It
Hmm.
wasn't arrogant or cocky. It was just, no, God has made me for this moment. I am going to go and do this. Um, and then when that process of healing from the injury and finding herself in Christ again and understanding that like the wins and losses don't define her, they're just part of her journey, she was able to free herself from the pressure of always having to win the matches.
Hmm.
Um, and then her senior year, she ended 50-1. She took a loss her senior year, in a pretty big tournament, but it was better to lose in that tournament than in the state
How
tournaments.
was that loss? How did she
Well,
take that loss?
yeah, great question because it'll tie into what we were talking about before. Like how I mentioned before, she would lose and we would have to have all this space in between conversations, right?
Hmm.
We were at a tournament, biggest tournament, bigger than the state tournament. It's called Raleigh Lane Invitational. There's 150 different schools there. I mean, it's the biggest tournament for high school wrestling in the Western United States every year. There was 75 girls in her bracket. She took a loss. She was winning the match. She was up 11-1. and she just made a mistake. She made a huge mistake and she got stuck, meaning she got pinned pretty quickly in the second round.
Mm.
Just bad mistake, right? We walked off the mat. She went up, shook her opponent's hand, shook the coach's hand, said, "Good job." We walked off the mat. We went into a staging area where the athletes and coaches could hang out, and we sat down. And literally, like 5 minutes after the match, she was good. I was like, "Hey, are you ready to talk about this?" And she said, "Yep, I'm ready. Let's do it." Um,
Was she crying?
no, no, completely different athlete, dude. Completely
Wow.
different athlete. Yeah, like she just had no attachment to the loss. Her
Hmm.
her response to that was, "I'm getting third place." That's it. So she wrestled back 5 matches, won them all, and took 3rd place in that tournament.
Hmm.
And ended up beating the girl for the 3rd place match that she lost to earlier in the day.
That feels good.
Yeah, so it was this moment where she was able to basically assess we assessed the match. We said,
Hmm.
"We were good up until here. You're up that many points. You kept pushing, you kept pushing when all you had to really do is wrestle this girl and not get thrown and not get pinned." Well, she made a mistake where she got thrown and pinned. So we assessed that match and we moved on. And it was
Hmm.
literally like that quick, right? No
Hmm.
emotional roller coaster, no like, "Oh man, I'm not the wrestler I thought I was." It was like, nope, that was a fluke and it's not going to happen again. And she
Hmm.
didn't lose a match for the rest of the year from that point on. Completely different wrestler. That was another point in her senior season. She was undefeated up until that point, and the weight of that undefeated record was kind of starting to like wear on her a little bit, where it was like, "Oh, undefeated." Everybody was like, "Oh, you're undefeated." And she just was like, "I don't care if I'm undefeated." So losing that match was another way to
Hmm.
free herself from all of this pressure of staying undefeated. But she in to tie it into the part of the conversation we had earlier, like this time that used to could have been, a half an hour between match and conversation had been whittled down through the years and the growth of her as an athlete to a point where she lost the match and we were having a conversation 4 minutes later about it. And like no emotions. It was like, "Hey, this is just we made a mistake here that led to this. We made a mistake there that led to this and this, and we have to avoid that in future matches. So when we get up by a ton of points, we don't have to be the one that's always putting the pressure on. We don't have to be the athlete, the wrestler looking for a pin. When you're up 10 points, all you got to do is not get pinned and not get thrown, and you're going to win the match." So she was able to make a real time adjustment in there, um, and then that translated to every match from that point on that ever got beyond the first round, because most of them didn't.
Hmm.
Um, where she was able to realize where she was at. She was more comprehensive of the match, the points, what to do, when to push the gas pedal, when not to, and basically became a more well-rounded wrestler in one moment of a match. And then history was made.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, bro. It was incredible to see. I'm sure the energy in the room and with the family was just like you said, you can't explain it really. You
I
can
wish
never
every
even
parent could experience that.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Celebrating their kids' growth really is
Oh,
the
man.
thing.
Well, dude, great way to put it. Great way to put it, because it wasn't just about winning the state title. It was
Right.
about the journey that she had to go on for over 4 years
Hmm.
to just have a shot at that.
Right. Right.
Just to have the opportunity. She had 2. She didn't do it the junior year. She took a pretty hard loss. That was tough, but just to give yourself the opportunity to complete this goal that she said she wanted to accomplish 2 different times, and then she actually pulled it off. Her wrestling IQ, to try to sum it up at this point, is of the elite level. There is
Hmm.
there is no point in any match where that kid does not know exactly where she's at, exactly what needs to be done. She can read any opponent on the mat. I mean, down to the point where their mannerisms give her. like the information that she needs to know how to wrestle them, like how they hold their feet, how they hold their hands, where their head's at, where their butt's at. Like she, it's like a computer analyzing data in real time,
Mm-hmm.
like over and over and over and over again. So yeah, wild.
What's your opinion? So, like, I was talking to a dad recently who's actually kind of like coaching me a little bit, um, and he talked about the importance of a child, a youth mastering something. And so I think this is a great example of your kid mastering something that didn't 100% take over their identity, right? Like, she now understands what it takes to master something, but based on our conversation, I think if she's 25 and she's not wrestling anymore, she's not going to go like, "Oh, sheesh, I wish I hadn't have done all that." You know what I mean? Like, um
Yeah,
so what's
great.
your opinion? Because I would say, like, you're a master, and here's the thing about being a master at something, like, you still know that you don't know a lot, right?
For sure.
So I would say you have mastered and are on the continued process of mastering functional fitness and nutrition, right?
Yeah.
So for you, looking back at it's like you probably didn't set the idea when your kid was born, I'm going to help this kid master something. But as you reflect back, what advice would you give a dad who has a kid to help their child master something, whether it's guitar or wrestling or whatever? What are your thoughts on the growth of a child in that arena?
Patience.
Hmm. Do you think it's important though?
Being
Do you think it's important for kids to like learn to master
Oh,
something?
yeah, I do. Especially something really hard, because it's hard. They're not always gonna be little Susie or Johnny hanging out with mommy and daddy in the house, right? They're gonna be adults one day. They're gonna be responsible for themselves. They're gonna be responsible for others potentially, because life is not ever, sunshine and rainbows. And for kids especially, we live in this world these days of instant gratification where like everything's at their fingertips, so to speak. Um, so whether it, like you said, guitar and guitar is extremely hard.
Yeah.
Being willing to put in the time to become a master at something or accomplish something of extremely high level requires enormous amounts of dedication and really hard work. That is by nature going to help them create their character. And are they willing to do hard things and put off the gratification for things that potentially may be years away? Um, I think that's great for a parent to invest that kind of wisdom into their
Mm,
kid because it's going to make them a more successful human,
yeah.
meaning that they'll understand, oh, well, it took me 2 years to learn how to play this one song on the guitar, or it took me 4 years of devoting my entire life and all of my
Yeah.
time to becoming the best at this sport. And not just wrestling practice, but the amount of, like, extra hours, the nutrition, the time in the gym, the videos, the studying that goes into these things. No matter what it is, it teaches them a work ethic, and that's the most
Mhm.
important thing, right? At least for a kid, it should be. A parent
Yeah.
having a kid, like, I don't wanna ever raise, and my kids are both pretty much grown and adults, but if I had another child, hypothetically speaking, right, I would try to make their life not hard in the sense of, like, being a mean parent, but I would always have them doing extremely hard things because
Yeah.
it's going to make them grow up understanding that when I bust my ass and I work hard and I stay committed, good things come from that.
Hmm. What is up, my dudes? Forgive me for interrupting you, but if you have a son, you will want to hear this. As you know, I have been involved with Rise Up Kings the last 5, almost 6 years. Incredibly impacted my life in massive ways in faith, family, fitness, and finance. And this past year, they launched the Genesis program, a 3-day rite of passage for young men ages 13 to 17, where a father can attend and be a part of this process. Truly incredible. And I have an incredible honor, privilege of after the 3-day event, there's a 6-month mastermind every other week for the fathers, every other week for the sons, and I am leading coaching that. And this last week I met with the sons on the call, and I mean, they are leading with prayer, they are leading devotion, they are working to respect their mothers and build relationships with their siblings and have a respectful, honoring, growing relationship with their fathers. Something each one of us, I mean, I have a 16-year-old right now, and this is incredibly important as you and I are kings in our kingdoms and in God's kingdom, wanting to ensure that life and family values lives well beyond our time here on this earth. So go register. They are going to do a program once a month. I believe these are going to fill up incredibly fast. The cost is very fair. Please go register, sign up, check this out. It will be something that you will look back on as a linchpin moment in your relationship with your son and in his relationship with himself, with you, and with God. You can go to www.riseupkings.com/FFN for Fatherhood Field Notes. Much love, my dudes. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I love the verse behind you. Like, it's you had that in your gym up in
Hebrews
the
12,
CrossFit
11.
gym, Hebrews 12:11. You and Cece sent me one for my home gym, which I love,
Yep.
and my kids look at when we're training there. I want to
Good shit.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
I think sometimes because you use the word, and I think we just use the word, which is fine, but I want to get your actual thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
We say, like, right now, one of my daughters is in flag football. She loves it. And it's like, do you want to be the best? It's kind of the wrong question, right? So what is it that if I want to help them master something, the reality is there's always somebody who's going to be faster. There's always going to be somebody is going to have something that's, I hate the word, like, better than me if I'm comparing. But as we're working towards mastering it, it's less about being the best. It's more like, am I doing my best? Am I growing? What are your thoughts around this idea of, like, the best? Now, your daughter is also the
The
best in
best. She's one of the
Idaho.
best. Man. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
50 other
So
girls in the country that are a state champion at 130 pounds. So she's one of them.
yes, one of the best. And it's tough, right? Because you want to celebrate this. And a great example is, like, my daughter's, it's fun. My daughter's state champ in Hawaii for track. But
Yeah,
then we go to Oregon and go to a Nike Invitational, and
yeah,
she's in the top 30,
yeah,
right? And
totally.
which is
Wild.
really a great gift, you know?
Yeah, yep,
But as
yeah,
we relate this to our kid, how do we talk to our kid about the best? Because again, maybe it's just identity, but I don't want your identity to be wrapped up in you being the best, but I don't want you to give less than you can give. What do you think?
yeah. I don't believe that everybody, kid or adult, has been created to be the best at something.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we can be our best
Yeah.
and we can do our best every single day to be the person that we were created to be. And only you know if you're trying your hardest, putting in enough work. I don't know if Ned is trying his hardest when he does the workouts that I program for you. You
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? My hope is that you want to be the best person you can be. As far as my kids go, that's exactly what I tell them. Like, I never like cared. Not that I don't want to say I don't care because I cared enough to do the things we did for the 4 years, right?
Yeah.
But it was never about Shelby. I should be careful with what I say because I believed that Shelby was going to accomplish this goal
Yeah.
when there was, I mean, Cece believed it. I believed it. Her brother believed it. A few people in the beginning believed it. Not a lot of people. They just thought, oh, it's just another kid saying they want to be the best, right?
Hmm.
Um, I believe she could do it if anybody could do it just because I know the type of mind that she has, right? And there's a lot of kids out there that have that mindset, but don't have the other factors going into as far as family sacrifice, the perfect I mean, we own a gym. She lives in a gym, right?
Mhm.
Like we live this like lifestyle that not a lot of kids get to live. Like, let's be real. There's a lot of kids out there who mom and dad have 9 to 5 jobs. So they don't
Right.
get to have a kid who's in the gym with them 2 or 3 hours every day. And you teach them how to meal prep and they're making their own food and they're doing all this stuff. So just to answer your question though, I think as parents and dads, especially, we should encourage our kids to be the best that they can be and teach them what a work ethic is by example. Be the example that you're telling your kid because kids can sniff out hypocrisy real
Mm,
quick. Like if
yeah.
I'm telling Shelby to, hey, I need you to count your macros, I need you to not eat junk food, I need you to only drink water, and I need you to regulate your sodium, and I'm eating bonbons and drinking soda right in front of her, she's gonna be like, well, you're not doing it. What? It makes
Yeah.
no sense. We live, our kids will see what we're doing and mimic the things in their own life. So if as parents, if we set a good enough example as far as like hard work and dedication and commitment and perseverance when shit hits the fan
Yeah.
and life gets hard, are we still willing to grind it out for the things that we say we want to accomplish? A lot of it does come from what they're seeing in their household with mom and dad, right? So
Hmm.
maybe maybe start there and be willing to be the hardest worker. So when you tell your kid like, hey, to be the best, you got to work, they're like, "Oh, well, that's what mom and dad do, and that's what brother
Hmm.
does," and that's like, I'm just surrounded by people who work hard, and, be the example that you're telling your kid to, like, search after, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, I think we miss that, right? Like, I would never hire a coach who doesn't have what I want. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of coaches out there who don't have the money I want, who don't have the body I want, and
yeah.
they're there telling you what to do. Like when I go to a gym and I see you know, a mediocre person coaching somebody there, I'm like, why the frick did you hire this person? And I
No.
loathe that, dude. I loathe the it's and I don't want to like I don't want to say this is about true about teachers, you know, but this statement like those who can't do teach, like I think that's ridiculous, but
Yeah.
this kind of like underlying stereotype is like I can tell you everything you're doing wrong, but I'm not willing to do anything to fix the things that are wrong in my life. It's like, okay, no
Dude,
thanks.
I wouldn't
So
wanna be coached by somebody like yeah, totally.
yeah, dude, I'm like, okay, you're a life coach or you're a marriage therapist and you're divorced. Like, dude, Sarah and I were going to a marriage therapist, and
Oh, yeah. Or
this
I'm gonna
lady,
take nutrition advice from somebody who's 200 pounds overweight, like,
frick,
let's be real.
I wasn't trying to be
No.
mean. I'm sure this lady knew the right questions to ask, but we were going to marriage counseling and she's like, you know, telling us how she's divorced. And it's no judgment, but I ended up going and finding a lady who'd been married for 45 years
As
to a
you
dude,
should.
to a dude. And I'm
No.
like,
Yeah,
that's the person I want to be, you know, giving me
absolutely.
feedback. And so
Dude,
this
yeah.
is important for fathers. Like, you want your kids to do things. Are you doing them? And if not, freaking change your own game, dude.
Yeah, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Look in the mirror. Dude, to be honest, Ned, I think if more parents in general did the things that they're telling their kids to do, they would have more successful kids and be more
Yeah.
successful themselves. Like
Yeah.
so put it this way, like we don't have I don't play video games. My kids don't play
No?
video games.
That's weird.
Dude, I don't have time for that shit. Um, but my point is like I would much rather have my kid seeking this goal that is so
Mhm.
hard than wasting their life on video games. And if I was sitting there just playing video games and not trying to like better myself and like be a better man, be a better husband, be a better family leader, and it was just like, how could I tell them if I'm not leading by example? I'm a
Yeah.
hypocrite.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to
Yeah.
ever be a hypocrite.
Dude, and I think that's so important for men. It's like if you one day want your son to have like to lead a family well, if you want your daughter to be married to a good dude, if you want your kids to have good marriages and healthy families and blah 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 blah, then do that yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like don't just want better for your kids, do better for yourself so they'll follow in your footsteps.
Sounds so easy, right?
Sounds so easy, bro.
Mhm.
I think it is easy. I think what happens is like yesterday, for example, I worked my freaking ass off and it's 6:30 and I'm, cause my family didn't need me. So and it's easy to default into like, well, look at everybody else's life, or I deserve a beer, or I shouldn't have had to work so hard. It's easy to fall into that versus going, oh my gosh, what a great opportunity God's given me to serve my family. Like, let's go. Let's do it again tomorrow,
Yeah,
you know?
totally. Totally.
And I need more of that. Dude, this has been so good. I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
Dude, freaking Shelby crushed it. And she couldn't have asked for better parents to walk this journey with her. So kudos to you and Cece. You guys are seriously just all around such a savage family. Um, any last words of wisdom to any dudes who want to support their kiddos before we wrap up?
Be willing to take the ride.
Just do it. I mean,
Just
it
do
goes
that.
back to what you said before, right? Of like nothing is more important than
Nothing.
this. And they
Yeah.
need to know and feel that.
Yeah, and it should never be a lot of, and I know we gotta wrap up, but, it's not a bargaining chip. Like, "Oh, hey, look what I did for
Oof.
you." Like,
That's a
"We did
really
all
good
this
point.
stuff." Like, no, dude, that was don't be that.
Hmm. Dude, it's easy, I think, for parents to be like, I paid so much for you to do this, or I took off the weekend for you. Like, just remove any of that because then it's all about you, right?
That's
You're not really
oh, yeah.
serving your kid.
No. No. It was
Okay,
just
then let me ask this question just because this is a really good point. How
yeah.
do you use how do you help them see, or do you even need to, um so that they don't squander the opportunity, right? So like they're
Right.
like, "Oh, dad, I'm at this this camp this weekend and like whatever." There's a little entitlement, a little squandering, and you're not like, "I paid $2,500 for you to be here. I took off 4 days of work." Like where do you find that balance, or what would you tell dads to, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll just put it like this. I made an agreement with Shelby. She had to meet me halfway, and there was
Hmm,
accountability. Like, I
hmm,
Shelby's 17, she's damn near an adult, so there's not a there I think it would be I think it would be poor parenting if there wasn't a level of accountability. So, to wrap it up, the beginning of the journey, obviously, we have to do XYZ, right? So, she
hmm,
had to do XYZ for us to meet in the middle. So,
hmm,
if there was ever a point in time where she wasn't meeting her end of the bargain or the deal, we would address that in
hmm,
real time and, like, deal with it and, like, "Hey, we're meeting what we said we would do, and now, like, sub note, this never actually happened, like, she always met the line.
yeah,
There was
yeah,
never a moment she didn't, but the agreement was made that we're gonna do this, which is gonna give you the ability to do this, and as long as we both do what we say we're going to do, there is no, like, me holding this over your head because she's doing her work, her job, and we're doing our work, our job." To give her the she was doing what she needed to do so she could have the opportunity to reach her goal. Uh,
hmm,
and so there was never a point in time where there was ever anything that, like, not that I'm like, Cece and I are just not those parents who are like, "Oh, I gave you a gas card or I gave you this or I gave you that. Like, look what we're doing for you." That was never that's just not who we are.
yeah,
But it was also removed from power because we made an agreement and we were willing to hold each other accountable
hmm,
to the agreement we made. And she's 17, like, she should know what accountability is,
right.
and she should know what coming into an agreement with somebody means, so in the future, she can learn from that, and to her
Hmm.
credit, she never once missed a beat, never once.
Hmm. Dude, Seth, I love you, man. This has been so good. I learned a bunch, and I know any dude listening is going to learn a bunch from this. So thank you for being the dude you are.
Yeah,
Thank you for constantly growing as a human, and being vulnerable, open, honest, and really, dude, being such a good example serving your family for
thank you,
sure.
Ned. I love you too, brother. It's
All
been a
right,
pleasure.
dude. Much love. Until next time.
Absolutely.
All right, you guys, incredible conversation. I just love this guy. I have several takeaways as I look at this sheet of paper where I put notes down. It's like, I'm doing some thinking through, helping my son who's 16 and my daughter who's 16 think about, like, what do they want to master. So some of that was really important, leading me into some conversation I want to have with them. I enjoyed that. Also, the agreement, like creating accountability with your child based on what they want, and then creating an agreement with them where it's not you holding them to the fire, but you holding them to an agreement that they made with you. And then again, lastly, and most importantly, was this moment where Seth said, you need to go get rooted in your word. Dads, please, if you are struggling with your identity, just take a risk. Take a risk. Could it be true? Could it be true that there is a loving God who created you, not for a purpose of like you're supposed to go do X, Y, or Z, but that you are supposed to be a part of this loving family? So if you are willing to take a risk and see, is there really this loving God out there? Go pick up a Bible, go start to read it, and just see what happens. Even with a little bit of skepticism, if he's who he says he is, I think you will find more than what you're looking for. And you will find a path forward where the pressure of loving, leading, and serving your family it won't be all on your shoulders anymore. My friends, if you're enjoying these conversations, please write a review. It helps spread the word that fatherhood matters. And even more importantly, send this podcast link to a friend and say, hey, you're a great dad. I think you'd enjoy this podcast. Not enough men are doing that. And if you are interested in leveling up your fitness, and even if not, go to Family First Fitness, which is Seth's Instagram. He has multiple levels of coaching opportunities. And I'll tell you, his wisdom and knowledge and ability to help walk with you is truly incredible. He's been coaching me for 2 years, and it's invaluable. It's invaluable to me. The time, the energy, the accountability that he offers me is truly incredible. So thank you to all you dads out there listening to Fatherhood Field Notes podcast. What you do matters. Don't be like everybody else. Be yourself. That's who your kids, your spouse, and the community needs. This is your guide, Ned. Shout together. Let's rebel against the view that fatherhood has little impact, and let's create lives engaged in mastering the craft of fatherhood. I look forward to hanging out with you next time.